At 70, life moves at a different pace. The rush of youth, the hustle of middle age, all that noise. It starts to fade. But what's left? If you're lucky, wisdom remains. Clarity too. And maybe, if you've done things right, a deep sense of peace. See, by this age, life isn't about chasing anymore. It's about being. It's about standing still, looking around and realizing you've already won. If you can still do certain things, most people worry about the wrong things. They think winning at 70 is about being rich, looking young, or having everything figured out. But real success isn't about any of that. It's about what you can still do, what's still within you, what hasn't been lost to time. The first thing. If at 70, you can still move your body, you're winning. Now, I don't mean you have to run marathons or lift heavy weights. That's not the point. But if you can get up, walk without too much pain, lift a bag of groceries, bend to tie your shoes without struggling, then you're ahead of many. Because the truth is, the body keeps score. Every bad habit from youth, every neglected stretch, every time you said, "I'll take care of it later," it all catches up. And by 70, the body doesn't forgive easily. So if you still have the gift of movement, it means one of two things. Either you took care of yourself when you were younger, or you've been fighting to hold on to what you have left. Either way, that's a win. People don't appreciate mobility until they lose it. They take for granted the ease of walking, of reaching for something on a high shelf, of getting out of bed without aches and stiffness that linger too long. And then one day, they wake up, and it's gone. Or at least, it's not as simple as it used to be. That's when regret shows up. That's when people wish they had stretched more, moved more, taken those long walks while they still could. And at 70, what you can still do with your body becomes one of life's biggest realities. I've seen people in their 70s who move like they're 50, and I've seen people in their 50s who move like they're 80. The difference? It's not luck, it's consistency. It's the small daily habits, standing instead of sitting all day, taking the stairs when you can, stretching when you wake up, drinking water, eating food that doesn't poison you slowly. It's the way you treat your body over time that determines whether it will still serve you when you need it most. And at 70, that's everything. But let me tell you something even more important. If you're 70 and you can still move, you must keep moving. Because once you stop, it's over. The moment you give in to stillness, when you let yourself believe, that age means you should just sit and take it easy. You begin to decline. Movement isn't just about the body, it's about the mind. When you move, you stay sharp. You stay aware. You keep engaging with life instead of watching it pass you by. I once knew a man named Henry. He was 74 when I met him. Walked every morning, no matter the weather. Not a power walk, not a workout, just a walk. He had a slight limp, one knee. That wasn't what it used to be. But he never let that stop him. He said something that stuck with me. If I sit down too long, I start to fade. And that's the truth. He understood that movement wasn't just physical. It was his way of telling life, I'm still here. At 70, if you can still move your body, no matter how much or how little, you're winning. Because it means you're still in the game. And that's what matters. Now, let's take it a step further. There's something else, just as important as movement, maybe even more so, because the body follows the mind. And if at 70, you can still think clearly, still make decisions for yourself, still remember the things that matter, then you are truly ahead of the game. Because let me tell you, one of the cruelest tricks of aging isn't just what it does to the body. It's what it does to the mind. You see it happen to people. They lose sharpness. Their thoughts become tangled. Their memories slip away like sand through their fingers. And the worst part? They know it's happening, at least at first. That's the hardest part. Knowing you used to be quicker, that words used to come easier, that once upon a time, you could recall every name, every story, every lesson without hesitation. So, if you're 70 and your mind is still sharp, if you can still hold conversations, still learn new things, still recognize the faces of the people you love, don't take that for granted. It's a gift you earned through a lifetime of thinking, questioning, engaging with the world. People don't realize that mental clarity isn't just something you get to keep automatically. You have to fight for it. You have to protect it. Every choice you make, from what you eat to what you read, to how often you challenge your own thinking, it all adds up. Some people, the ones who stopped learning, who stopped being curious, who let their minds go idle too soon, they start fading long before their time. You ever notice how some people in their 70s are as sharp as a knife, while others seem lost, disconnected, unable to engage the way they used to? That's not just luck. That's decades of habits showing their effects. The mind, just like the body, needs movement. It needs exercise. It needs challenge. If you spend your years just going through the motions, not thinking beyond what's necessary, not questioning, not exploring, then by the time you reach 70, your mind has already started shutting down. I once knew a woman named Margaret. She was 78, and she read a book every single week. Didn't matter how long, didn't matter what topic. She just made sure she kept reading, kept feeding her mind. She said, "The moment I stop learning is the moment I start dying." And she was right. She could talk about history, about science, about the latest news with the sharpness of someone half her age. She kept her mind alive because she never let it grow stale. Now let's talk about something even more important than just remembering things, because memory is just part of the equation. The real question is, can you still think for yourself? Can you still look at the world and form your own opinions? Can you still decide what you want instead of letting others make choices for you? Because that's what happens to a lot of people as they age. They stop making decisions. They start relying on others. Not because they have to, but because they think they should. They let their children tell them what to do. They let the world tell them how to live. They shrink themselves into something smaller than they really are. And that's when they start to disappear. But if at 70, you can still stand your ground, still decide for yourself, still live on your own terms, that's real power. That means you haven't been defeated by time. You're still in control of your life. And that, more than anything, is what separates those who are truly winning at this stage of life from those who are just passing time. You see, the biggest mistake people make as they age is believing that they have to fade into the background, that they have to step aside, let the younger generation take over, stop asking questions, stop being involved. But that's nonsense. Your mind is still yours. Your thoughts, your opinions, your decisions, they still matter. And as long as you can think for yourself, you have something valuable to offer. At 70, the world may try to tell you that your time is over, that your best years are behind you. But if your mind is still sharp, you know better. You know that life doesn't just stop being meaningful because you've crossed some imaginary age threshold. You know that as long as you can still think, still question, still make choices, then you are still very much alive. And let me tell you something else. If you're 70 and you can still laugh, if you can still find humor in life, if you haven't let the weight of the years crush your spirit, that's another way you're winning. Because I've seen it happen too many times. People get older and they grow bitter. They stop finding joy in the small things. They forget how to laugh, how to let go, how to appreciate the ridiculousness of life. And that's a real tragedy. But if you've made it to 70 and you can still laugh, if you can still enjoy a joke, if you can still find humor in your own mistakes, then you've kept something precious. You've kept your spirit. And that, more than anything, will keep you young. Because life is unpredictable. It will knock you down more times than you can count. By 70, you've been through enough loss, enough disappointment, enough heartbreak to know that nothing is ever truly in your control. People come and go. Plans fall apart. Health shifts. The world changes in ways you never expected. And if you're not careful, all of it, the weight of it, can harden you. I've seen it happen. People reach a certain age and they let life turn them bitter. They stop seeing beauty in the small things. They stop laughing at the moments that don't make sense. They carry resentment, regrets, a deep frustration with everything they can't change. And the worst part? They don't even realize it's happened. But then there are the others, the ones who still find joy, still tell stories with a smile, still chuckle at their own mistakes. The ones who can sit with friends and laugh about the past instead of drowning in nostalgia or regret. Those are the ones who are truly winning. Because if you can still laugh at 70, that means you haven't been defeated by life. It means you've found a way to keep going without being weighed down. It means you've learned the secret that no matter how old you get, life is still ridiculous, still full of surprises, still worth smiling about. I knew a man named George. He was 82 when I met him, and he had this way of making every story he told sound like the funniest thing that had ever happened. Not because his life had been easy. Far from it. He'd lost people he loved. He'd had hard years, tough breaks, moments where everything fell apart. But he had this outlook, this way of shrugging off what he couldn't control. He used to say, if I stopped laughing, I'd have to start crying. And I'm too damn old to waste time crying. That stuck with me. Because he understood something most people don't. That laughter isn't just about humor. It's about survival. It's about refusing to let life make you miserable. And it's not just about laughing at jokes or funny movies. It's about being able to laugh at yourself. To not take every mistake, every forgotten detail, every misplaced set of keys as a crisis. It's about embracing the imperfections of aging instead of fighting against them. Because the truth is, you will forget things. You will have moments where your body doesn't do what you want it to. But if you can meet those moments with a sense of humor instead of frustration, you'll be miles ahead of most people your age. But let's talk about something even deeper than laughter, something tied to it. Because laughter, at its core, is about connection. It's about sharing moments with people who matter. Which brings me to another thing that truly makes you a winner at 70. If you still have people in your life who care about you, who check in on you, who genuinely want to be around you, then you are richer than most, because loneliness is one of the hardest things to face as you get older. And it's more common than you think. People spend decades focused on work, on obligations, on climbing whatever ladder they chose, only to wake up one day and realize they neglected the relationships that mattered most. And by the time they notice, it's too late. Their children are busy with their own lives. Their friends have drifted away. The people who once filled their days with conversation and laughter are nowhere to be found. So, if at 70, you can still pick up the phone and call someone who will actually answer, not out of obligation but because they want to talk to you, then you're doing something right. If you still have a friend who remembers your stories, still have family who wants to spend time with you, still have connections that haven't been lost to time, then you are far wealthier than any millionaire who sits alone in a big, empty house. And here's the thing. Relationships don't maintain themselves. They require effort, attention, time. You don't get to 70 with strong friendships or a loving family by accident. You get there by showing up, by calling first, by forgiving when you need to, by letting go of old grudges that don't matter anymore. I've met people in their 70s who are completely alone, and I've met people in their 70s who are surrounded by laughter, by conversation, by love. The difference? One group invested in people, and the other let those relationships slip away. So ask yourself, do you still have people in your life who matter? Do you still have someone to talk to, someone to share a meal with, someone who remembers who you were before the wrinkles, before the gray hair, before the world called you old? If the answer is yes, you're winning in ways that can't be measured, because no matter how much money you have, how many possessions you've collected, or how many achievements you can list, none of it means a thing if you're going through life alone. At 70, what truly matters is connection. And if you still have it, hold on to it, nurture it, keep calling, keep visiting, keep showing up, because that's what makes life worth living. Now, let's talk about one last thing, one final way you know you're winning at 70. And this might be the most important one of all. If you've made it to this age, and you can still wake up with a sense of purpose, then you've already beaten time itself. Because here's what most people don't realize until it's too late. Aging isn't what slows people down. It's the loss of purpose. The moment you stop having something to look forward to. The moment you wake up without a reason to move, to think, to create. That's when you truly start to fade. I've seen it happen. People retire, thinking they'll finally get to relax, only to find themselves restless, unfulfilled, unsure of what to do with all the hours stretching ahead of them. And slowly, they start slipping into routine, into monotony, into a version of life that feels more like waiting than living. But the ones who keep going, the ones who wake up at 70, 75, 80 with something to do, something to contribute, something to care about, they never really grow old. Not in the way that matters. Your purpose doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be some big mission or lifelong dream. It just has to be something that keeps you engaged with life. Maybe it's tending to a garden. Maybe it's writing letters to your grandchildren. Maybe it's volunteering, painting, mentoring, fixing things around the house, learning something new. Maybe it's as simple as making someone smile every day. The point is, you have to have a reason to keep moving forward, because the moment you stop caring about the next day, the next moment, the next thing you want to do, that's the moment time starts winning. And we don't let time win. I once knew a man named Robert. He was 90 years old, and every morning he woke up, put on his best clothes, and walked to the local coffee shop like he had somewhere important to be. In reality, he just went there to talk, to meet people, to share stories. That was his purpose, to stay connected, to keep being part of the world. And because of that, he had energy most people half his age didn't. It's not about fighting age. It's about staying in the game. As long as you're still here, you still have something to do, something to give. And if you understand that, if at 70, you still wake up with a reason to get out of bed, then you're winning in ways that most people never will. So let's bring it all together. At 70, if you can still move your body, even if it's slower, even if it aches a little, you're ahead of the game, because movement is life, and the moment you stop, you start fading. If you can still think clearly, make your own decisions, engage with the world, you are in control of your life, and that is power. If you can still laugh, still find joy in the ridiculousness of it all, still see the humor in your own mistakes, you haven't let time steal your spirit. If you still have people who care about you, people who check in, who want to spend time with you, then you are wealthier than any millionaire who sits alone in an empty house. And if you still have purpose, if you wake up with something to do, something to care about, something to look forward to, then you are truly, completely, absolutely winning at life. Because at the end of the day, winning isn't about how much you've accomplished. It's about how much life you still have in you. And if you've made it this far, if you're still moving, thinking, laughing, connecting, and living with purpose, then you're not just aging, you're still alive. And that is the biggest win of all.